do this. Hello everybody and welcome. It is your favorite internet nobody, Barrett Courtney, from the very successful, no, that's just lying, the moderately known, that's close, the show Zero Life. As you can tell, there is no episode this week. It's just been super crazy. Sean was in New York over the weekend. Danny started working as well. He finally started his job in San Francisco. So schedules were just really hectic this last weekend. Actually today, the day I'm recording this video, Sean's actually going to LA right now. So it's just been pretty hectic work stuff. So there's no regular episode this week. So I thought to myself, like, what's something I can do to sort of make up for that and to sort of replace this week's episode. And I figured I could do a video blog. I think they call them gloves for short. But anyway, I figured I would sort of take you throughout my day and sort of let you guys know what I've been up to for the last week. I've played some games, watched some movies, and I figured, you know, get my 2 cents out there and try doing these gloves, you know, just test it out and have some fun. So first things first, I gotta go to work. So if you guys are wondering, I didn't just like magically teleport into another room and then have magically new clothes on. No, I had to stop recording and then put on clothes and then start recording again. So yeah, I guess that's how gloves work. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of stop and start, stop and start. If you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat, well, maybe if you saw my hair in the last shot, that's why. So let's go to work, guys.
Hello, can I say that there's something wrong with this place? I got time just to waste. If you would be my new escape, so then I say, can't find a love, but well, there's no other way of pulling me under, cause it's gotta be fate. If we're under the covers, it's all gonna be A-okay, A-okay. I don't wanna do it alone. I'm begging you,
So usually for my morning commute, it's not too bad actually. It's like 30 minutes and I usually keep to myself. You know, just like on the bus, I usually, if you follow me on Twitter, I usually do the song of the day. It's like a quick walk up from the bus stop to IGN, and so I'll walk and usually stop at like a local coffee shop or something, and I'm not like a fancy guy, so get like, you know, just like dark roast coffee or something. Like I'm usually not into like infusion teas from Starbucks or anything. That's not usually me. So yeah, I just like to keep it local, you know. But enough about my daily routine. I'm here to mainly talk to you guys about what I've been up to this week. The first thing on the docket is the Star Wars Battlefront 2 beta, which before I give my thoughts on it, I tweeted out some thoughts on the beta about like Starfighter, Conquest, and some few things. But before I go like really deep into what I think about the beta, I actually stopped and talked to my good friend Josh Mobley, who is one of the hosts of a long time ago radio, big Star Wars fan, hosts a Star Wars show, and so I stopped and talked to him about his thoughts on the Star Wars Battlefront 2 beta. Alright Josh, we're doing a video blog, because there's no episode of Zero Life this week, so I'm doing a special video, and I think they call them gloves for short, so I'm really excited to do that, yeah.
I don't think they call them that.
What are they called?
Pretty sure they're called vlogs, you know, because it's like a V.
God damn it, Josh. Alright, Josh, what were your thoughts on the Battlefront 2 beta that came out and got extended actually for 2 days?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Too bad I deleted it from all my consoles already. I played probably 15 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I really liked it. I thought it was really fun. I am worried about the cards, like a lot of people are. But
there's some possible microtransaction stuff going on.
They are microtransactions.
Yeah, well, yes,
Confirmed.
they are. It's
yeah.
possible, like, game-breaking, paying to win in multiplayer games sort of things, and we don't like that. It's not fun.
I don't tend to mind that kind of stuff, but I worry about how other people mind. Because, I don't know, I felt like I had some pretty good cards, but I don't know that they made a giant difference. Someone could spend $100 and then all of a sudden, like, they're the best Boba Fett.
So there are 3 modes. There was Galactic Assault,
Yep.
Starfighter Assault and Strike, which one did you play a lot?
I actually probably played Starfighter the most.
Yeah.
And it's because back in the day, I was obsessed with X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. There's something about flying just like super fast over stuff and blowing stuff up. It felt great.
Yeah.
And I loved that it wasn't like the first Battlefront where they're like, here's 50 TIE Fighters and 50 X-Wings, just shoot each other until someone wins.
It did feel really hectic. Like, it felt like an actual, like, battle, like, in real life going on. I liked that.
Yeah, it ebbed and flowed differently. It was cool. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite part of the beta. Josh, thank you so much for telling us your thoughts and feelings. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at the Jawa Josh.
And you also host a Star Wars themed show called A Long Time Ago.
Long Time Ago Radio.
Yes.
Yep.
There you go. You can find that on iTunes, RSS feeds, other podcast services, I'm guessing.
Your favorite podcast services, as we like to say.
And do you have a YouTube?
No, not yet.
One day YouTube.
One day.
So obviously, again, go check out Josh, go follow him on Twitter, go check out his show. Huge Star Wars fan. Like, I thought I was a huge Star Wars fan, then I met him, I was like, oh damn. No, you're a huge Star Wars fan. My thoughts on the beta, so far I like it. It's enjoyable. I think it's a little deeper than the first Battlefront game that came out 2 years ago, the first Battlefront from EA. They've added classes this time around, and I've been experimenting with different classes. I really like the Specialist class, which is mainly just like a sniper class. And I didn't really figure that out until like last night. I was really bad at like Galactic Assault and Strike, which is our like actual like battles like on the ground and stuff. And until I picked the sniper class, I was like, oh, I'm getting like a lot of kills now. My main problem with even with all three, because I really like the Starfighter Assault. Every time that you are the team that has to attack, like for Galactic Assault, the attacking team is the droid army. And then for Starfighter Assault, it's the rebels who are attacking. And for Strike, it's the First Order who's attacking. And I feel like every attack team is at a disadvantage because they have so much to focus on. I mean, Strike, not as much. Strike, it's just like, hey, pick up this package and take it to the other side of the map. And I've had really good like matches in Strike, and I think that is actually the mode where I've seen more of like 50% wins from each side. But with the other two, it's like, make sure you're not losing like your sort of revive count on your map, and then also focus on these three objectives that are happening all at once. You know, you don't want your big vehicle, the MTT, to get hit at all, because in the second phase, the health of the MTT transfers to how many revives you have. That first phase in Galactic Assault, I actually think is not too bad, because a lot of people on the defending side they weren't playing the objective. They're like ignoring the ion disruptors from what I experienced. So it was really when you got to the second and third phase, there was really a struggle for the attack team. And then the same with Starfighter Assault, where even the first phase, like, you have to take down these two ships, but also make sure you're not losing a lot of health, because when you get to the second phase, you want at least like 140 revives to like realistically make it through that phase. And the same thing, like at least like 120 for the third phase to make sure you like have enough lives to get through that phase. And so like the attack team has so much to focus on, whereas like the defending team for at least Starfighter Assault, it's like just kill everybody, you know. Sort of gameplay wise, like I was enjoying it. I like the Starfighter Assault, obviously, as I've said before. I'm really excited for the main campaign though. That's the big draw for me, at least. So when this game comes out, like, I'm gonna play through that campaign. I'm watching every Star Wars movie every weekend leading up to the story for this. So by the time I watch episode 6, that'll be the Saturday before Battlefront 2 comes out. And so I'll watch episode 6, and Battlefront 2 takes place right after the second Death Star explodes. So that'll lead into that, and then I'll watch episode 7, and I'll be all set for episode 8. So that's those are my thoughts on Star Wars Battlefront 2, the beta. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was Blade Runner 2049. And I got to see the movie with some friends, and I actually got to hang out with Fred on the way back from work to home to talk about Blade Runner for a quick second. You know, I really love Fred. He's always on it. He's always like watching every movie, playing every game. He's just well versed in everything that's coming out.
Fred, what are your thoughts on the Star Wars Battlefront 2 beta?
I haven't played it.
Okay, well, what did you think about the new Star Wars trailer?
I haven't watched it.
Alright, well, how about Blade Runner 2049? How'd you like that?
I haven't watched that either.
All right, maybe he's not as well versed as I thought he was. But no, he's been busy. He's just moved here to San Francisco to work at IGN, so he's still getting moved in. So he hasn't had time to play Battlefront or watch the new Blade Runner or any of these things. So I actually talked to him really quick about the original Blade Runner, which we watched together. And you guys know my thoughts on the original Blade Runner. I wasn't a super huge fan, so I talked with Fred for a little bit to see what his perspective was.
We did watch Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, together. What were your thoughts on that movie?
It was interesting. Cinematography for the movie was fantastic. The visuals were great. I think dated is probably the best word to use for it because it's 35 years old. The film techniques that were used back then, not as good as now. Or different, I should say.
There's cool aspects to it, but like there are definitely things that don't age well. What was one thing you did like about the movie, though, besides cinematography?
Cinematography, obviously, like you already said, no, but cinematography as well as just the theme. The theme is incredibly interesting. Everything cyberpunk is awesome. So seeing it in this light was interesting because you wanted more from the world, but that's what apparently the new one does. So I just got to go see it.
Yeah. Fred, thank you so much for giving me your thoughts on the original Blade Runner.
Yeah, at least I have that. I have nothing else to offer.
Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Fred_Sully, damn the underscore, and on Instagram at Fred Sully.
There you go. And he's also a very cute boy working at IGN, working in the social team. So anything social you see, you can think, Fred Sully might have worked on that.
Also remember to follow Fred on Twitter. He's a very sweet boy. He's working at IGN now. He was working with Ishmahawk before. Check out Ishmahawk's stuff. I've said all I really needed to say about the original Blade Runner, so I want to spend this time talking a little bit about Blade Runner 2049. I'm sure actually everything I'm talking about this week we'll probably talk a little more in depth next week with Sean. So with Blade Runner 2049, I think it's everything the fans of the original made the original out to be, right? It's like beautiful cinematography and like a cool like story that had you guessing the entire time, like what was real and what wasn't, and like is it important and all. And I think all of that actually happened in this one. Like I think you actually see more of the universe that they build in Blade Runner 2049, and with this movie, it definitely had me guessing the entire time of like, all right, who is a replicant, who isn't, what are the relationships between these characters because of who they are, or who they might, if they are a replicant or if they're not a replicant, does that still matter? Like, I'm gonna get into quick spoilers just for like a second, just to talk about one scene. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, like click off here or skip forward. I'm pretty sure I'll put timestamps in the video, so if you want to check down below where I get out of spoilers. It's just going to be really quick. The one main example I have is like how impressed I was of this movie, of like all of these themes that they brought up, was like the scene with Ryan Gosling's character, Agent K, who is a replicant, who's like this new breed of replicant, and his sort of house AI lady that he was sort of in love with. Sort of that entire arc was really cool. And then the sort of scene that a lot of people are sort of equating to her, the AI buys sort of calls this girl for hire and like sort of attaches her AI body to her so they can like have like a physical relationship with each other for a night because they like have feelings for each other. And I thought it sort of raised that good question of like, just because they aren't your humans, like, does it mean that they can't love, you know? And I thought that was like a really cool question, and there's a lot of themes like that throughout the entire movie. So this is where I'll stop talking about spoilers. I just wanted to talk about that real quick, like as an example. The movie was beautiful, like that goes without saying. The cinematography was amazing. The score was really intense. We went to see it in Dolby, and we were sort of near the back of the theater, and there was a couple of times where I was like, this music might blow my ears out. It'll probably be one of my favorite movies this year, and I'm pretty sure this will probably be one of the best sci-fi movies in the next couple of years. So I did read earlier that it's not performing super well at the box office. So if you're sort of like, if you're on the fence, and if you're one of those people who are like me and like you're not sure if you like the original Blade Runner, like if you don't feel like investing 2 hours, it's like less than 2 hours, so if you really want to see this new one, just like watch it real quick, or if you don't even have time for that, just, I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, just Google it or something. Like, I can pretty much sum up what the first Blade Runner is about in 30 seconds. I think it's really cool. I'm really bummed What's up?
Yeah, it's a real cool movie, dude. Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. It's Andy Cortez from Kind of Funny.
The first Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I have I agree with you in a lot of points there.
Yes.
Right? And you probably already reiterated all that. But
Yeah.
the second Blade Runner.
Yeah.
It's like when they take a really old game and modernize it with like better controls.
Yeah.
Like, there's no more tank controls and shit like that, like in Resident Evil and shit like that.
Yeah. That's
how I felt about part 2. Gosling's super hot, dude.
Yeah.
The girl's super hot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hot people in the show, man. Good movie, dude. Good movie.
Andy Cortez, everybody.
Now I'm gonna go interrupt Griffin.
Griffin's recording. We'll talk about Griffin in a little bit, actually. But Andy Cortez, you can follow him on Twitter at Maximum Cortez and check out all of his content. Kind of funny. Yeah, it's like a really great. And I think Andy's point is actually pretty solid. It's like it brings up a lot of the themes in the first one, but I think does it better. So yeah, I think his analogy of like a remake of a video game, but like with better controls and stuff, and it's sort of like how I hope they handle Shadow of the Colossus, because I had to play the original recently, and the controls were not great. So I'm hoping for the remake, it's actually like better controls, but still like with all the cool stuff in it. So the third thing I want to talk about this week is the Star Wars Episode 8 official trailer number 2 that revealed more story stuff. I definitely will be getting into sort of what the trailer is, so if you're trying to avoid spoilers and trying to go in clean, I respect that. You should probably drop off here. But before I get into my thoughts about it, I stopped and talked to Griffin Guccione, who has just recently moved out here to San Francisco. Talked to him about that because I wanted to get a perspective of someone who's more of a casual Star Wars fan. So let's check out what his thoughts are. Griffin, so we watched the Star Wars trailer together.
Yeah, like 7 times in a row.
Yeah, it was really nice. So you're a more like casual Star Wars fan, as I gathered yesterday, where you're like, yeah, like I'm excited for it. Like they're good, but
They're
like,
always really good movies.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts on the new trailer?
I thought it was really interesting. There's a lot of things that I'm like really curious about, like how the dynamic between Rey and Kylo is gonna change. How does Leia die? Does Kylo kill her? That was a weird scene. Also, I was pretty hyped to see Finn have the little like baton lightsaber thing and like fighting against Phasma, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, there's a lot of stuff that's gonna be really really cool. Those trailers are always. Hi, buddy. Those trailers are always awesome, and these movies are always awesome. It's always funny to see like a Star Wars movie because in a way that their CGI really always pushes what I think is the extent of movies.
Yeah, like Rogue One, like even though I wasn't a huge fan, like pushed like what I thought CGI could be.
Yeah, and it's always like crazy to think like these Star Wars movies have always been and always will be like visually speaking some of the best movies of their time.
Yeah.
Even like the like the prequels.
Yeah, they looked
really good
for their
like,
time. Yeah.
For their time, they were awesome, and so like it's cool to see a movie like Star Wars be coming again, and so soon too.
Yeah.
And have trailers that are so exciting and like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen?
Well, thank you, Griffin, for putting in your 2 cents about the Star Wars trailer. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Griffin Senpai. Sometimes you can also find me streaming either on Twitch or Mixer, also at Griffin Senpai.
And you also co-host a show called Farm to Tower, a Destiny-centric podcast.
It is. Destiny 2-centered podcast called Farm to Tower. We actually just finished recording our 3rd episode.
Yeah.
So catch that on YouTube.
I'm gonna say it again. Go follow Griffin on Twitter. Go check out his podcast, Farm to Tower, YouTube.com. I don't actually know the URL. I'm real sorry. I'll probably put it in the description below. My thoughts on the trailer. I really liked it. I think the one thing that we could have done without in the new trailer was the moment between Kylo and Leia, because I feel like if you took that out and just had the rest of the trailer together, I think it still would have been a solid trailer. And that's the only point where I feel like it actually got into spoiler territory. But a good point that Joshua Mobley, from earlier on the show, we were sitting down at lunch talking, and he brought up a good point where he thinks a lot of this trailer was meant to misdirect people. There's even a quote from Luke that says, "This is not going to play out the way you think it is." That's not a direct quote. I forget what exactly he says, but I think that's maybe a double meaning of whatever's happening in that scene, and maybe a meaning for the trailer. Like, hey, like you're gonna see some stuff in this trailer, and you think it's gonna play out, like you think we're gonna copy Empire Strikes Back, but really we're gonna do our own stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to see more Luke. Obviously, it seems like he is going to be hesitant training Rey. You know, he sees her power and definitely is intimidated by it. And I think what he was alluding to, like, I've seen this power before, I think he's alluding to when he was training Ben Solo, at the time Ben Solo, now Kylo Ren. The one interesting thing was Snoke at the beginning, who says, like, when I found you, like, I saw all this, like, raw power, and, like, I saw something, like, special in you or whatever, at the beginning of the trailer. And a lot of people think that's going to be the conversation with Kylo Ren, but there is a scene that we see in the trailer where Snoke is sort of force electrifying Rey. So I think it actually might be that scene where he's talking to Rey of like, oh, like I discovered that you existed, and I felt this like power from you, and like you kicked my apprentice's ass the last episode. So yeah, come work for me, you know. I think that's actually where that line takes place, is that scene. And the scene at the end, the big one where Rey is like, I just want to find out what my place is and all of this. I need a teacher. It cuts from her to Kylo Ren, or from Kylo Ren to her, and then Kylo Ren like holds his hand out. And that could be a misdirection. Those could be two totally different scenes, which would be, you know, good on editing to sort of make us think like, oh shit, is she gonna go to the dark side, or is like Kylo Ren gonna go to the light side, or like they're gonna meet in the middle and like sort of join their like own forces and stuff. Like that would actually be a cool idea. Like they go off on their own and they're like, fuck both the light and the dark side, we've had enough. Which would actually go to my theories in the past where I talk about like great Jedis and stuff. That it could be that, it could also be a misdirection, but it could also be like the way I think it might play out as is like Rey's getting frustrated by Luke's teachings and she's getting impatient, much like how Luke was getting impatient with Yoda in episode 5, and then they go off, like Luke goes off early before his training's done to go help his friends. Rey might go off early before her training's done to sort of go confront the dark side. So that scene with Rey and Kylo Ren at the end could actually be them in the same scene, and her basically like pretending like, yeah, I'll work for you guys, and then like trying to get to Snoke, right? Which would lead to the scene with Snoke force grabbing her and all this stuff. So feeling wise, it makes me more excited. Like I was already super excited. Rian Johnson is directing this movie, and he has done Looper and Brick, and those are great pieces of work. He's also directed some of the best Breaking Bad episodes. And I was excited for this movie before episode 7 even got a trailer, just because I knew Rian Johnson was on it, and he was helping write it, I believe. And yeah, I'm super stoked. He is one of my favorite directors. And yeah, that's sort of all I got for Star Wars. And I'm sure we'll talk way more about it on next week's episode of Zero Life. So the last thing I was actually going to talk about today that I had planned in my head at least was the Undertale Collector's Edition, which I saw some people on the internet, they got theirs already, and I was like, what the heck? I ordered mine the day like that pre-order went up, so where's mine at? But then I actually got an email on the way back home from work that said, hey, your Undertale Collector's Edition has shipped. So it all comes to a happy ending. That's really all I have to talk about this week. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know this was sort of a weird video. This was a test. It's like sort of a test run of what a vlog is. I guess they're called vlogs and not globs. But yeah, I just wanted to try it out. I actually just thought of this morning when I woke up. I was like, shit, we don't have anything for Zero Life. I'd rather not have you guys like hanging dry for no content, so I figured I'd just make a fun little video and try out this vlog format and see how that works. So leave your thoughts, like if you liked this video, like leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also like the video if you want, and share with your friends if you thought it was entertaining enough. And of course you can follow me on Twitter at Bananglerchong. Sean, who is my co-host of the Zero Life podcast, is at Sean Twisters if you want to follow him. And you know, our main show Zero Life is on podcast formats and all that good stuff, and we're right here on youtube.com/ZeroLife. Post every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, except when we don't. And yeah, that's really all I have for you guys this week. So until next time, stay nerdy.